The recording wasn't supposed to exist. Security protocols at the Lakers' El Segundo training facility strictly prohibited any electronic devices during closed-door team meetings. But on March 15, 2023, someone forgot to turn off the backup audio system in Conference Room B. What happened in that room during the next 47 minutes would become the most explosive leaked audio in NBA history. LeBron James sat at the head of the mahogany table, his championship rings catching the fluorescent light as he addressed his teammates about leadership, legacy, and what it truly means to be the greatest of all time. But when rookie Austin Reeves innocently asked, "Bron, do you really think you're better than Jordan?" the King's response left everyone speechless. Have you ever heard someone destroy a legend so completely that it actually made you respect both of them more? Because what LeBron said in those next 8 minutes wasn't just trash talk. It wasn't ego. It was a masterclass in confidence that would make Michael Jordan himself nod in approval. But before I reveal the exact words that sent shockwaves through the NBA, you need to understand why this moment was 20 years in the making. The GOAT debate had been suffocating LeBron James since he was 18 years old. Every shot he took, every decision he made, every championship he won or lost, everything was measured against the ghost of Michael Jordan. Sports analysts built careers dissecting their differences. Fans chose sides like it was a religious war. Even his own teammates walked on eggshells around the topic. For 2 decades, LeBron had given diplomatic answers. Michael's the greatest. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. Different eras, different games. I have nothing but respect for what MJ accomplished. But that March afternoon in the Lakers conference room, something had changed. Maybe it was turning 38 and realizing he was running out of time to cement his legacy. Maybe it was the frustration of watching younger players like Austin Reeves look at Jordan highlights with the same awe previous generations reserved for Magic Johnson. Or maybe LeBron was just tired of pretending. The room was small, just the core rotation players. Anthony Davis sat to LeBron's right, D'Angelo Russell to his left. Austin Reeves, barely 24 and still starstruck by playing alongside the King, occupied the chair directly across from LeBron. The meeting had started routinely enough. Coach Darvin Ham had left after discussing defensive rotations. LeBron stayed behind to talk about mental toughness, about what separates good players from legends. And then Reeves asked the question that changed everything. "Bron, real talk? Do you really think you're better than Jordan?" The silence in that room was deafening. You could hear the air conditioning humming. You could hear D'Angelo Russell's chair creak as he shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew they were about to witness something historic. LeBron leaned back in his chair, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. It wasn't his usual media smile, the practiced, politically correct expression he'd perfected over 20 years of interviews. This was something different, something dangerous, something real. "Austin," LeBron said, his voice calm but carrying an edge none of them had heard before. "Let me tell you something that's never been recorded. Something I've never said publicly. Something that's going to sound like ego, but it's just facts." He paused, looking each player in the eye. Michael Jordan was great in his era, phenomenal. But if you really want to know the truth, and this stays in this room, MJ wouldn't last 2 seasons in today's NBA. The sharp intake of breath from around the table was audible on the recording. LeBron continued, his voice gaining intensity. "You want to know the difference between me and Jordan? Michael played in an era where hand-checking was legal, where you could clothesline a guy driving to the basket and it was good defense. The game was slower, more predictable, less sophisticated." D'Angelo Russell started to interject, but LeBron held up his hand. "I'm not disrespecting Michael's greatness. What he did in his time was perfect. But I've been adapting to rule changes, defensive schemes, and athletic improvements for 21 years. Michael played essentially the same game for 15 years. Then came the statement that would become legendary. Michael Jordan was the greatest player of the 1990s. But I'm the greatest basketball player who ever lived, period. And the difference is this: I can play any position in any era against any competition. Michael was a shooting guard who dominated a specific style of basketball. I am basketball. The recording captured every word, every inflection, every moment of stunned silence that followed. But LeBron wasn't finished. Austin, you ask me if I think I'm better than Jordan? Here's what I think. Michael Jordan in his prime, transported to today's game, would average 22 points per game. Good player, maybe an all-star, but not dominant. You know why? Because the athletes today are faster, stronger, smarter. The schemes are more complex. The competition is global. Anthony Davis finally spoke. Bron, that's what? Controversial? Disrespectful? LeBron's voice remained steady. Let me give you facts, not feelings. What happened next was a systematic dismantling of the Jordan mystique that would make even the most devoted Bulls fan question everything they thought they knew. LeBron stood up, walking to the whiteboard in the corner of the room. Michael Jordan played 15 seasons. I'm in my 21st. He won 6 championships, all with the same core team, same coach, same system. I've won 4 championships with 3 different teams, adapting to completely different systems and eras. He started writing numbers on the board. Career points. LeBron 38,652 and counting. Jordan 32,292. Career assists. LeBron 10,420. Jordan 5,633. Career rebounds. LeBron 10,210. Jordan 6,672. The markers squeaked against the whiteboard as each number hit like a physical blow. But here's the real difference, LeBron continued, turning back to face his teammates. Michael Jordan retired twice because he couldn't handle the pressure and the grind. I'm 38 years old in my 21st season, and I'm still the best player on a team competing for championships. Russell Westbrook, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. But the finals record, Bron. LeBron's laugh was sharp, almost bitter. The finals record, 6-0 versus 4-6. You want to know what that really means? It means Michael only made the finals 6 times in 15 years. I made it 10 times in 21 years, including 8 straight years. Something Jordan never even came close to accomplishing. The room was electric now, every player hanging on LeBron's words. Michael Jordan lost in the first round 4 times. 4 times. I've never lost in the first round, not once. But nobody talks about that because losing early doesn't count against your finals record. Then came the statement that would be quoted for decades. The truth that nobody wants to admit is this. Michael Jordan was protected by the media, protected by the league, and protected by playing in an era where his biggest competition was maybe 5 other elite players. I've been competing against the most talented basketball players in human history for 2 decades, and I'm still here, still dominant, still the standard. LeBron sat back down, his voice becoming more reflective, more philosophical. You want to know what separates me from Michael? It's not the statistics, though those speak for themselves. It's the mentality. Michael Jordan needed to hate his opponents to motivate himself. He created enemies, manufactured slights, built walls between himself and everyone else. He gestured around the room. I make my teammates better. I adapt my game to whatever my team needs. In Miami, I was a slashing wing. In Cleveland, I was a point forward. Here in LA, I'm whatever we need me to be on any given night. Michael Jordan was a great player who happened to have great teammates. I'm a great player who makes my teammates great. Austin Reeves, still processing everything he'd heard, asked quietly, But what about the cultural impact? The global brand? LeBron's smile returned, but this time it was warmer, more genuine. Austin, Michael Jordan sells shoes. I changed the world. Michael made basketball popular. I made basketball players into activists, entrepreneurs, and global citizens. Jordan was the best basketball player of his generation. I'm the most complete human being to ever play basketball. The pause that followed was pregnant with meaning. But here's what I respect about MJ. He knew his role. He played it perfectly. And he knew when to step away. When I retire, there won't be any debate about who came after me, because there will never be another me. This morning, I received messages from the Prime Minister of Canada, the President of the European Investment Bank, and the Chairman of the African Development Fund. Not because they want something from me, but because they respect what I've built and the value I bring to international relationships. Coleman finally found his voice. Mr. James, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, LeBron said firmly. Just an education. You called this meeting because you thought I was someone you could intimidate. Someone who didn't understand power or influence or how international business really works. LeBron gathered his documents and placed them back in his briefcase. But what you've learned today is that real power doesn't come from a federal badge. It comes from competence, relationships, and the ability to create value for others. Things I've been doing for 20 years while you've been sitting in meetings trying to feel important. Agent Coleman sat in stunned silence as LeBron prepared to leave. The 15-year veteran who had walked into the room confident in his federal authority was now questioning everything he thought he knew about power and influence. Agent Coleman, LeBron said, pausing at the door, I'm going to give you some free advice. The next time you want to investigate someone's international business relationships, maybe start by making sure your own house is in order. He smiled, not arrogantly, but with the quiet confidence of someone who had just proven a point. And the next time you decide to interrogate a basketball player, maybe do your homework first. Because what you'll discover is that the most influential people in the world don't work for the government. They work for themselves. And they work for their communities. Coleman managed to stammer. Mr. James, I apologize if this seemed... Agent Coleman, LeBron interrupted gently. You don't need to apologize. You just need to learn. The world is changing, and influence doesn't come from the places it used to. Today was a free lesson in how real power works in the 21st century. LeBron opened the door, then turned back one final time. Oh, and Agent Coleman, if the Bureau ever wants to learn about effective international relationship building, my team offers consulting services. We've helped several Fortune 500 companies navigate complex global partnerships. The door closed behind him, leaving Agent Coleman alone with the realization that he had just been completely outclassed by someone he had tried to intimidate. 3 days later, Agent Coleman received a package at his office. Inside was a hardcover book, The Art of Global Business, Building Influence Through Excellence by LeBron James. On the title page was a handwritten note, Agent Coleman, real influence is earned, not enforced. Keep learning. LJ. The book detailed LeBron's business philosophy, his approach to international relationships, and his strategies for building lasting influence across cultures and countries. It was everything Coleman had tried to investigate, laid out clearly and professionally. But more than that, it was proof that LeBron James hadn't just won their confrontation. He had turned it into a teaching moment. Word of the meeting spread through FBI circles, though the details remained classified. But agents who heard about it began to understand something important. In the modern world, real power doesn't always come from government positions. Sometimes it comes from excellence, preparation, and the ability to create value for others. Agent Coleman kept the book on his desk for the rest of his career. Whenever younger agents asked him about interrogation techniques or how to handle high-profile individuals, he would point to that book and say, "Before you try to intimidate someone, make sure you understand what real influence looks like. Because sometimes the person sitting across from you has more power than you ever will, and they earned it." LeBron James never spoke publicly about his meeting with the FBI. He didn't need to. The message had been delivered exactly where it needed to be delivered. But for those who understand how real influence works, the lesson was clear. True power comes from competence, preparation, and the ability to create value for others. Agent Coleman had tried to use his badge to intimidate someone he saw as just a celebrity. Instead, he discovered that he was dealing with someone who had built more, influenced more, and accomplished more than most people in government ever would. The legendary response wasn't anger or defensiveness. It was education. And sometimes, that's the most powerful response of all. What do you think? Was LeBron right to educate Agent Coleman, or should he have shown more respect for federal authority? Let me know in the comments below. If you want more stories of how the king handles those who try to intimidate him, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because real power recognizes real power. And LeBron James has been showing the world what that looks like for over 2 decades. Remember, all stories are fictional entertainment created for inspiration and discussion. The confidence, business acumen, and global influence, that's 100% real.